bonds. We have some other studies we have to do, and I think that will be fun.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks so much.
So I would like to continue our meeting with giving a round of applause to, thank you, and then round of applause to Arm Forley, who recently got the prestigious award at the Sanibel Symposium.
Congratulations, man.
So his award is after Mike Zerner, who did a lot in computation in porphyrin spectra, and there is a method Zindo after him. So he was, Aaron is getting an award from Bartlett, who is one of the most cited computational chemists in the world. And, here is his poster presentation. It's an achievement for the whole group. There were several posters, and one of the presenters is Kevin Gima, and you can either leave or stay, whatever you like. But if you
Thank you so much.
So there were some.
Sorry, one more. So yes. You will email us about our next meeting, right?
Yes.
Or at least talk.
Exactly. Right.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Yep.
And maybe I'll have more answers.
Please.
Next time.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So next time we will next meeting, I suggest all of us bring the figures and caption sections for the proceedings of the Sanibel Symposium, and I know that some of us have already made it. Thank you. And today, basically, the time is for Kevin, so we approximately remember what his poster was about, and he wants to share which questions or ask him how he plans to address them.
Okay, so a lot of these are comments, and a lot of these are questions that people have asked me, and I try to answer them to the best of my ability. So I just want to go over with you guys just to make sure that I answer these questions accurately. All right. If not, please feel free to fill in any gaps in knowledge that I might have. So first one was why one-dimensional as opposed to two- or three-dimensional. So I'm studying lead telluride nanowires. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And someone asked me, why are you studying one-dimensional nanowires as opposed to two or three dimensions? And my answer was that simply that these one-dimensional materials were easier to study than two or three-dimensional ones. Is that the right answer? Or
it is not an exam, it is creative thinking. We have more ideas why nanowires are more preferential. Feel free to request it from, we can have a free discussion.
All right, because nanowires are very widely used in semiconductors.
So which benefits of nanowires you see yourself? One of the things that comes up to the head that it is much more definite to characterize direction of charge transfer. Okay. Because travel of charge away from this single dimension is forbidden, so it's just simple problem. Another thing that if you would give this poster once again, or if you expand it, you may show image from your computational chemistry class schematic diagram where you show how thermoelectrics are working, so that when it's heated and cooled terminals, they need to be far away in space.
All right.
And it's most easily engineered with nanowires, because otherwise there will be a short circuit. So it's nanowires have some benefits for arranging typical device setup for thermal vectors. Okay, yeah, keep going. Maybe check if you see more ideas.
All right. So someone suggested that I compare my adiabatic calculations with my non-adiabatic calculations. So someone asked me that, and I thought about it, and that question like didn't make sense to me because all my like adiabatic calculations, if I did them on my models, they'd be essentially zero basically, right?
Please repeat. Sorry, I just missed. Just last sentence. Repeat last sentence.
So if I compared my adiabatic calculations that I may have done on my model with my non-adiabatic calculations, my adiabatic calculations would essentially be zero, according to my understanding.
What will be zero? I think
All my expectation values, my energy expectation values, my position expectation values would be zero if I did it in the adiabatic approximation.
I think I'm able to read your mind, but you are not telling what you are thinking. Your main observable is rate of electron transfer.
Mm-hmm.
Can you get any electron transfer without non-adiabatic component?
No.
Okay, so with adiabatic calculation, you get zero electron relaxation rate or zero electron transfer. But it is, you are using some wrong words. It is not an observable. It is a specific observable of interest, electron relaxation and electron transfer.
Okay.
So with adiabatic, electron relaxation rate is zero.
All right.
Okay. Now, do you do adiabatic calculations? Have you done it? Are they done in process of preparing the poster?
No. All I've done are
No. Yes or no?
No, all I've done are non-adiabatic calculations.
Try again. Were adiabatic calculations completed in the process of preparing data for your poster?
Yes.
Good. So, how were your non-adiabatic couplings computed?
So my relaxation rates were computed from my electron and energy graphs.
Yes, but where did you get the Redfield tensors? Where did you get them from?
From my MATLAB coding. So
MATLAB coding is just technical implementation. But what is this origin? Like, Redfield tensors are obtained from non-adiabatic couplings.
Mm-hmm.
How they were obtained? Do not worry. You are showing correct equations in the poster, and you are aware of this. So, what are non-adiabatic couplings?
Is essentially expectation values derived from transitions between orbitals.
Right, transitions between orbitals.
Mm-hmm.
And in each non-adiabatic matrix element, you do have orbital number I and orbital number J.
All right.
Are they taken at the same time or no?
No.
Okay, so you take orbitals at different time.
Mm-hmm.
So where does your time comes from? How does time enters into like quantum mechanical equations for your nanowires? Do your atoms stay frozen, or you allow them to move along a trajectory?
I allow them to move.
Okay, when you allow them to move along the trajectory, it is your adiabatic dynamics.
All right.
So you have adiabatic even if you were not calling it this way.
Okay.
So your calculations do include adiabatic.
All right.
And you'll find a way to explain it in your writing and in your next presentations. So adiabatic calculations are present in what you're doing.
Okay.
You already did it. Okay?
All right, let's telluride a semiconductor. Don't worry, I looked it up. I know it's a semiconductor. Next question:
Wait.
Sorry.
Why telluride semiconductor?
Because its band gap falls within the range of a semiconductor.
Which is?
HOMO minus LUMO.
But what is the range? Like, what should be the value of HOMO minus energy of LUMO minus energy of HOMO to characterize the material as a semiconductor?
It should be. I can't remember the number. Maybe less than like 1 electron volt, 1.5 electron volts.
Okay, so it is like bigger than 0.2 and smaller than 4.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, and someone asked me what the vibrational modes looked like, and I wasn't sure how to answer this question.
Check if, like, ask audience how to compute vibrational modes.
All right, guys, anyone have any ideas on how I compute the vibrational modes?
Or like who can help me to make vibrational modes?
All right, can someone help me figure out what the vibrational modes are?
Mm-hmm.
There is, like, you can tell VAST to tell you the vibrational modes. So you just need a certain in card. So I can send you the template I've used.
Yes, I would appreciate it.
So which keyword needs to be changed? If
I don't remember. I think it's, yeah, I don't remember which.
maybe it's Ibreon, the one that the same parameter that makes difference between molecular dynamics and single point for optimization. And if this parameter is set up to the, like, for optimization in molecular dynamics, it's like 0 and 2, and if you put it 7, it makes normal mode calculation.
That sounds about right.
What a question to Kevin, what are normal modes? It's not about VASP, it is about, like, background information.
Okay, so are you talking about just like molecules, or are you talking about earlier in my like chemistry history when you're like talking about waves? And
The question about vibrational modes is, and one can rephrase, what are the normal modes for your system? Right? But can you just give verbal definition, what are normal modes?
okay, so normal modes is essentially when you have like two nuclear or nuclei and an electron, and from my understanding of physics, it's when they're vibrating at the same frequency. When they vibrate at the same frequency, that's a normal mode.
Okay, so what if there was like 300 atoms? How many normal modes will you have if you have 300 atoms? Can you give it right away?
300.
Each atom has 3 Cartesian projections.
So 300 times 3 is 900.
Okay, and one needs to subtract translation, 3 translational and 3 rotational. So 3n minus 6 will be like 894.
Okay.
And how does software compute normal modes? You have an idea, generally. If no, it is fine. If you don't remember what you do. So each, and do you want to help, or you're not in the mood?
You were starting.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. The script subsequently shifts position of one atom
Okay.
by a very small value and recomputes forces.
Right.
And one does it twice as much as you have number of degrees of freedom. So each atom is each Cartesian coordinate is moved to the positive and negative direction.
All right.
And then if you have ground state geometry and two shifts to the positive and negative, one takes 3 points and tries to make a parabola across them.
All right.
And then because there are so many atoms, there are so many different frequencies. And this is obtained by solving a circular equation. One gets all forces for all displacements and diagonalizes force matrix. And what Aaron has suggested, it is implemented in specific keyword, and then the outcome includes frequencies.
By the way, is this being recorded?
Yes.
Okay.
I hope so, because I placed it on the recording, but I need to chop because the first part of the meeting is copyrighted and it would be unethical to publicize it. So I try to chop and show it.
All right. I just want to make sure I can listen in on this again.
Good. Please ask Aaron what are the benefits of knowing normal modes.
Okay.
I'll ask him directly because
Wait,
I
right now?
Yes.
Okay. What are the benefits of knowing the normal modes?
So for your non-adiabatic calculations, it's computing transition between electronic states. So if the energy gap of the electronic states are about the same energy as the vibrational mode, they're in resonance. So it'll happen very quickly.
Okay.
So it gives you an idea of if you just line up your normal mode energies with absorption spectra or the energy spaces.
All right.
You can kind of characterize which transitions are fast and which ones are going to be slow. So you can use it to help interpret your dream figures.
Okay.
Does his answer make sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just have to go over it when I play this recording.
Okay.
Okay.
Keep going.
And someone suggested I look at this value are some TISS. Do you guys like remember what it means? Maybe I like miswrote it or something. If not, that's fine. I can try and remember it.
Can I show something real quick?
Yeah.
Wait,
does it have to do with my Redfield tensors or?
Exactly. I know it is maybe not the best. So you need to make figures like this, okay? And your RDISS is this matrix.
All right.
And as you see, Aaron showed it, and basically everyone in the group is doing it. You need to check how to do it. Maybe since you are generating figures for dynamic solid effect, it is there, and you have the files.
Okay.
But you may want to show it explicitly and provide verbal interpretation.
All right.
Okay, keep going.
Okay, and then someone told me that my electron hole isn't localized, but my electron is localized. I'm not sure what the word localized means. Does that mean it's not moving?
I would say localized is distributed in the vicinity of a single atom. It delocalizes this homogeneously spread over the whole system.
All right.
So if your blue figures or whatever for charge transfer, if they have very narrow stripes
Okay.
for electron impulse, it is localized. If they are continuously distributed, it's delocalized.
Got it. All right. And I looked at a model with a 300 atoms. So someone casually suggested to me that I look at my 300 atom model and compare it with results from a 100 atom model. So someone suggested I make a 100 atom model, do non-adiabatic dynamics that make a coupling, and then compare those results to the one with the 300 atom. All right.
So they suggest you to have less atoms or more atoms?
More atoms. So I'm studying a nanowire with approximately 300 atoms. They suggested that I study one with 1,000 atoms.
Like longer, like
Or thicker.
Longer.
This advice is greatly appreciated, but is not practical.
Okay. I mean, like I thought I told them that, but they told me that I should be able to make calculations in VASP using 1,000 atoms easily.
Single point, but not the non-adiabatic dynamics.
Okay.
And if you have chance to argue again about the size of the system, you may give linear size.
Okay.
How long is your system? How many angstroms or nanometers? Because 300 atoms objectively is not impressive number, but if you tell how long your system is, it will be like on the edge. Or
Right.
if you tell the volume of your simulations. So your system is quite long compared to what is typical. Either 5 nanometers or even 10 nanometers. It's huge in size.
All right. And this last thing, more transitions, especially with symmetry. You highlighted red, so it must be really important. So I'm going to draw a figure on the board. Tell you guys what I think I mean by it. Let's see, is there a marker here? Darn it. Anyone have a marker?
It was here.
It's sitting up by the computer.
All right. So one of the presenters suggested that I look at more transitions, especially more transitions with symmetry. So let's pretend that these are my whole orbitals. This is my nanowire, and I have orbitals here, 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 and here. If I interpreting the advice right, he wants me to look at transitions with orbital symmetry. So if my hole has these orbitals, then my electron orbital should be here. So essentially, if I were to look at transitions from here to here, these transitions are symmetric. So I'm interpreting that advice to mean that I should look at transitions between orbitals such as here to there.
What is y-axis in your drawing?
Okay, this is Z. Y-axis is
Okay, Z. What do you call Z? What is vertical axis? Is it Cartesian distance or it is energy? Just explain what you're drawing. I apologize for being a little I'm not sure.
This is my nanowire.
So it is space.
Right.
Okay.
And then there are atoms in here.
Mm-hmm.
And then these open circles are the orbitals.
Okay. I've got what you're discussing. Can you, drawing is not necessary, but can you imagine counting orbitals' energies? Like having so many occupied orbitals, so many unoccupied, and having different range of like HOMO -10 to LUMO +10, like having different indices of the pairs of orbitals that you initially exciting. You understand what I'm talking? When you were doing your greenish figures, you were doing it for different temperatures,
Right.
and for different pairs of excitations. Like, I don't remember exactly, but like HOMO -7 to LUMO +10.
Okay.
So for this pair of initial orbitals,
Mhm.
HOMO minus something and LUMO plus something, how were you selecting these pairs of orbitals? What is the criterion for the choice?
Initially, when I made the poster, I just selected them at random.
Okay, now if you would have more time, which is maybe not available, what, like, philosophically, intellectually, what if you have like 1,000 of available pairs, which of them would be most interesting to explore? Instead of taking random pairs, what would be the criterion? Like, how, if I have one pair and another pair, which one is more interesting?
Is it the one with the greatest energy difference?
It is one criterion. What are other options? You are drawing the one that shows more distinct initial charge separation. It's also a good choice. What do you see any other criteria? And you asked the group.
Could I do transitions with the greatest oscillator strength?
Yes, yes. It is a little bit not so logical for thermoelectrics because it's more for photovoltaic effect, but it gives very logical criterion. It's you can range all your pairs according to the value of oscillator strengths, and even if it is not quite right, it gives straight procedure.
Okay.
So I think what whoever was coming and asking you a question was checking this, like more maybe a few more transitions and more logic. How do you select them? And remember what we discussed right now. When it will be time to put together writing, if I would be you, I would put this discussion in writing, even if you are not doing it.
Okay.
There are several ways to select initial conditions.
All right.
Based on symmetry of orbitals, based on energy difference, or based on value of oscillator strength. And then, no matter what you do after, it will show that you have a thoughtful approach.
Okay. Okay, someone suggested I do chi-squared on the outlier. So if you guys remember from my poster, I had a graph like this, and a couple of my points were fitting nicely, but then there was just this one outlier here. Someone thought that it was really strange, so they wanted me to really double check it and see why it's such an outlier.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then someone asked me if my calculations were deterministic or stochastic. I think it's stochastic.
How would you set up a criterion for answering this question?
What's the difference between deterministic and stochastic?
So the deterministic means that your future values, that means your expectation values are determined by preceding values. So it's basically recursive, is the word I associate with the deterministic.
Okay, and stochastic?
Stochastic is when it's not
Deterministic.
right.
Okay. Fatima has a family member who's expert in statistics. Maybe you can share.
My family member knows, I have no idea.
What's the name of this?
Stochastic. I heard this stuff, this name.
So, if I'm doing an experiment, preparing the same conditions, temperature, purity of solvent, focus, distance of whatever, and every time I get slightly different results, then it would be stochastic. Like if you compute your expectation, your electron relaxation rate again and again, do you get the same numbers or different numbers?
Different numbers.
Wait. If you use these same initial values, this same method of code, you will get different rate.
Oh, you'll get the same values.
Yes. So in some sense, it is deterministic. But if you redo thermal fluctuation, adiabatic molecular dynamics, if you redo the non-adiabatic couplings again, then your Redfield tensor will be slightly different, and your rate of relaxation will be slightly different. So, in principle, we are trying to model stochastic processes,
Okay.
but we are simplifying equations in a such way so they, in practical aspect, they look deterministic.
All right.
But you might have a different opinion. I just heard. Okay.
All right. And then someone asked me about my photon nodes. If I froze the vibrational modes, someone told me that if my time step in my calculations was too long, that I may have missed some vibrational modes. But I checked with the professor after someone asked this question, and my time step was like 1 femtosecond, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So fortunately, I didn't freeze any vibrational modes, so it looks like that's not something I have to worry about.
Yeah. You didn't.
Your call will be disconnected.
So you didn't freeze mode. And can you just look on this text in red? I know that I've edited. If you come back just a second. And share, does it look clear? Does it look reasonable? Is it possible to add these figures?
Okay, density of states, absorption spectra.
One by one. Can you add density of states for all of your models?
Yeah, it's the same technique I learned last year, right?
Yes.
All right, yeah, I should be able to do it.
Okay.
Absorption spectra, I should be able to do that.
Okay.
And then fluctuation images, I'm not sure what that is.
Ask the group. Like ask who can help you, who can explain you what it is.
Guys, does anyone know what fluctuation images are?
So your molecular dynamics, like the outcar, it saves the energies at each time step. So it's just a plot of each orbital energy at each time.
Okay.
And so you probably did it. You might have did it in your class. I don't know. Well, there's protocols how to get it.
Okay.
So
Do you have an idea how it looks like?
Pretty sure we went over it during the summer exchange sessions, but it wasn't talked about in class. I don't remember it being done in class.
Maybe not in class, but we were doing
But over the summer, the transfer things was talked about.
Which food does it look similar to?
which food?
Yes. Let's check if it is available in photograph of Aaron's poster.
I guess maybe lasagna.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yes. Yes. This one. they call it lasagna, I would call it spaghetti. So it is time and energy of each orbital, like Homo, Luma, and others, as they fluctuate with time.
Okay.
So if it's not like primary critical thing to get, but if possible, try to add it, because it will be much easier to argue with a reviewer and explain what you're doing if you add this image.
All right. Plot of the band.up file. You mean that same band.up file that I used in MATLAB?
Exactly.
I should be able to figure it out.
Okay, good. And for do you have only one system or several? Oh, you have one system but at different temperatures. Okay, yeah. So only one image. Okay.
Schematic diagram of an energy bands. I'm not completely sure what it is. So I mean, is that the distance, like how far my energy bands are?
Let me suggest, draw something. Suggest. Or maybe put it right here. You can draw, and it's not necessarily to do by really by hand. You can do conduction band, valence band, and then there could be there could be additional states contributed by dopants.
Okay.
And they will be physically at, if we put energy as y-axis and position as x-axis, the states localized on one type of dopant and another type of dopant will be separated in space. And then if one does excitation, then charge carriers of the opposite sign would move to dopants of opposite nature.
Okay.
So if you add diagram like this and as a figure or as a insert into a figure for, I don't know, density of states, it will be helpful to explain to a reader of your paper what you are doing.
All right.
And it's not mandated to have it in this shape. You can be creative and do your own design and implement your own ideas. I'm just suggesting only the style. So instead of showing numerical data, simplify it to the level of a diagram.
All right.
Okay.
And then red field tensor images, I should be able to get it from MATLAB.
Yes, it is what we discussed, this rectangular field with several skyscrapers, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, anything else you want to share about the conference, pleasant or unpleasant moments of interacting with reviewers? Any people you noticed their names or someone told, like, anything more to tell?
No, that's about it.
Okay, then let's thank Kevin for everything. Other questions from any of us to Kevin? Okay, if no, let's close and complete the meeting. And if your posters were presented but you are not there, I will share the feedback probably in private. And let's try to bring the plan for the rest of semester will include main component of converting the posters into manuscripts, and we will do it in a protocol that maybe it's not ideal, but it is something that was working in the past. So in the coming 2 months, each week we will do components of the paper, like starting from the figures and captions, and then print, distribute, and collectively edit, and then I'll share the schedule. It will be a little bit in the opposite direction. Figures, conclusions, results, discussion, methods, and introduction at the last stage. From time to time, we'll be interrupted by things like we had today, or maybe there will be some research discoveries that we need to share between each other, but the main core of activities will be focused on the paper. Kevin has got an invitation to give a seminar in the Department of Physics, which is a very hard task and exam. And probably we need to give him a chance to recite it more than once. So in how many weeks it is?
I have to give it on March 23rd, so...
How many weeks? It's
like 3-4 weeks.
3-4 weeks. Will you be ready to give a practice talk next week, or you need like 2 weeks to prepare?
I can do it next week.
Still, maybe let's do it in 2 weeks, and next week you prepare figures.
Okay.
And then in 2 weeks we will assign more time for your practice talk.
All right.
Because figures are like fundamental basis. It's basically what you will be showing.
Okay.
So it is. It seems more reasonable to have all figures finalized and certain, and then go forward with arranging them in a logical way and put them on the slides. And maybe so in 2 weeks, and in 3 weeks it will be still before your talk. 3 weeks from now it will be which date?
Let me check. Hold on. Calendar.
Next week is the 3rd.
So 3rd, 10th, 17th. Yes, in 3 weeks from now we will do another. So at least 2 practice talks.
Okay.
But right now, for the coming week, please do as much as possible towards finalizing figures.
All right.
For those of you who didn't publish many papers in the past, there is a standard convention. So each figure is accompanied by captions, where you give the number of the figure and briefly describe what it is. Also, many of us are generating a lot of interesting and useful results, but if one uses one image and call it a figure, then a set of results can go as 30 or 50 figures, which is not journals will not take it. So if you have figures of a similar nature, it's very reasonable to bundle them into multi-panel. So if you and those who have an idea what it is will be very appreciated if we show it to those who will give their first attempt next week. So I'll probably bring the templates on how to review figures, and one of the typical suggestions after going through will be to rearrange figures or reset panels, more panels into one figure, less panels into a figure. Done. Enough for today. Many thanks. Have a nice week. I'll stay here to chat if there are more things to discuss.